everybody, Nick here, and today I got a quick review for you of the H-Link style bracelet for the Sinn 104 STSA. So although this bracelet is new to the 104, previously it was sold with a fine link bracelet, it's not new to Sinn. This is the same bracelet that's used on the 103, quite literally. The only difference is that they've made some end links that fit the 104 now, which is a beautiful thing. And so rather than, going into that and making the watch video even longer, I kind of broke the bracelet review out separately because the bracelet has just come out now recently in April of 2016. And that's when I'm looking at it here. This is one of the fairly early ones to come to the States, and I happened to pick one up. So there you go. There's some good, there's some bad, and there's some ugly as always. Let's go on ahead and jump into the good. There's some very good here. First and foremost, it's very solid feeling. Very, very nice and solid. There's not a whole lot of sag, and it's hard to show this vertically, but, very often with watch bracelets, it tends to sag a little bit, but this is very, very solid and feels great on the wrist. As a bracelet, this is super, super secure and just works very, very nicely with the watch overall. It feels just great on the wrist. And your watch isn't going anywhere. Another beautiful thing is that it's fairly quiet, which I very much appreciate. And this is a really nice thing. Take a look at how well it matches the very edge of the watch. Here, I'll take the watch off. That'll make life a little easier here. So look at the rotating bezel relative to the end link there. It parallels it very, very nicely, which is a beautiful thing. I like the dedication to detail there. Very good. Some other good things is that it's a very secure clasp, partly because it's a very interesting clasp. So take a look at this. This little piece here is split in the middle, and on the sides of it, hopefully you can see that, there are two little grabber bars here. So what that means is that when these two pinch together, the grabber bars go in, and when they're sprung back apart, the grabber bars are out. On the other side here, you can see there's a little pocket right here for your grabber bars. And so how this actually goes together is that those little grabbers go into those little slots, and as we can see from the back here, hopefully we can see, it locks. And so that's how the bracelet snaps shut to start with. There's not that little flimsy kind of grabber thing that, holds onto a bar or something and then friction pops away. It's a much more secure lockup. So even without the clasp lock on, this takes some doing to take apart. And sure, it'll wear in over time, but at the same time, very, very impressed with that. That's a nice little technology. I don't know if it's technology, but it's a nice little design step. I like it a lot. There's good. Also, the fold-over clasp gives you a little bit of extra security, and it's got just the right amount of tension versus that. And so with that fold-over, this is just not coming off, period. So you don't really have to worry about the bracelet. I'd be more concerned about the spring bars failing than the bracelet failing. That's a nice thing. A couple of other nice things here. You can see that there is a diver's extension on here, although it's pretty damned long. Certainly this will get you over any wetsuit or anything like that, but at the same time, I don't know. I don't see a whole lot of need for a diver's extension in my life, but I suppose it's there. And it's using that same idea of a little cut here, some spring or some bars on the side that grab slots over here. And that's not going anywhere when you don't need it to be. When you don't need your diver's extension, you're not diver's extending. Nice thing. You do have 3 quick adjust holes here, which is nice. Some bands only offer 2. And I can see why they could only give 3 because of the length of the diver's extension. But I do wish they'd done another one there. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. Another beautiful thing, actually when you get the bracelet itself, it comes in a little box like this, which is a beautiful thing of its own. Here, let me pop this open. Hard to do that on camera. And inside that box you get a spring bar tool slash little end link pusher tool, which is good. You get yourself this is your spring bar tool over here. You get yourself a pair of Allen keys. And I'll show you how those are useful later on. You get a new pair of spring bars, which is a very nice little touch here. And this is just a plastic wrap. And you get, well, obviously the entire bracelet with a little baggie for the end links. I'm sorry, for the links that you take out. So that's all very nice, and it comes in a nice package. It's terribly, terribly overpackaged, but whatever. The beautiful thing here is the way that you take out the links. So on a lot of conventional bracelets, like this guy, this is a Casio Oceanus, great watch. To take out a link, you need to push one of these pins out through the hole, and then replace that pin afterwards, and it's got a little spring collar on there. Whatever, that works. but it's just nowhere near as graceful as this system. You can see here that on either side of the bracelet, you have an Allen key head. See? On both sides there. And so in order to loosen a link, and I'm not actually going to do it because I've got these nicely dialed in for my wrist, but you put your Allen keys in either side, and then you just twist. And twist and twist and twist, and sooner or later it pops out, and it's just a bolt on one side and a little Allen key that goes into it on the other side, and, you know, there you go. And that means that as you're fitting it, you can just slide the entire bolt in there, and the bracelet's secure, and so you can try it on, and so that's just a really, really nice little thing. I love the process of sizing this bracelet a lot more than I've ever loved working with the little spring bar, with the hammers, and that's unpleasant. I'd much, much rather deal with a screwed-in link any day of the week, and so that's a really nice little touch. I'll give you that. And in terms of other good, the end links are very solid, and they're just solid metal, and they secure nicely, and honestly, it's a little hard to get them out even with the spring bar in there, so I'm pretty confident that this bracelet's going to stay together. And, you know, it's just really nice. It's a great bracelet. It's probably the best bracelet I've ever had on a watch, which is saying a whole lot. So there you go. There's your good. Let's go on ahead and jump into the bad here on this particular bracelet. There are a couple of bad things here. First off, the design of this part isn't super thrilling me. You go to brushed metal here and then polished metal here, and this whole thing looks a little bit, honestly, down market. The rest of the bracelet is very angular, very precise, and this is just kind of weird and rounded off, and it does say Sinn on there, which is good, but I'm just not super convinced by this portion of the bracelet. I think design-wise, they could have done something a lot more interesting there, and that would have brought me a little bit more joy. But so be it. That's life. A couple of other bad things here. First and foremost, kind of in my mind, is the fact that this bracelet isn't that adjustable. So very often, watches will include two ways of doing micro adjustments in the bracelet. You will have both some micro adjustment holes like this, and so you just poke that little spring bar tool in here, and then it pops it to the next setting and the next setting in. And you'll also include like a half link or something like that. Unfortunately, Sinn doesn't have a half link, and I actually contacted Shabazz, who is the American retailer for Sinn, and they've confirmed that there is no half link made for this bracelet. And that's a little frustrating to me, because I'm in a position where if I put this watch on with the bracelet in its current configuration, with this many links on it, it's just loose enough in this position. The problem is that if my wrist swells for some reason, either it's a really hot day or, you know, who knows what, then the bracelet's just going to be too tight, and there's no way to adjust that. If I had a half link in here, I could very easily pull out, add the half link in, and then start on the low end here, and then expand out. That would be much, much nicer, but unfortunately, that's just not the way they did things here. If you take out a link, it takes up way more slack than these three little holes can do. So I'd have much preferred that they include a half link. Or, better still, that they'd have done something like some of the newer bracelets from Rolex or Tudor that actually involves some kind of an active, you know, in Tudor it's a spring tension, and Rolex it lets you ratchet in there. But I don't need a diver's extension. I would have much, much, much preferred having some sort of a quick adjustment for bracelet tension. That would massively improve my quality of life, and this isn't necessarily even a dive watch. So I just don't see the need there. I wish they'd done a little bit better and given me more adjustment options on this. And so that's really the big bad part of this, is that it's just not as adjustable as I'd like it to be. And so as such, it's either a little too loose or a little too tight, depending on the swelling of my wrist. Whereas I've had other bracelets that do actually fit me really, really nicely. So there's your bad. Basically, the fact that this whole thing just isn't super well designed, and the fact that there's no real good quick adjustment system. Let's jump into the ugly, and it ain't so bad. So your ugly is not something that's going to be ugly to every people, and every people, wow, that worked, to everybody, and I'm not even sure it's ugly to me, but I better point it out. Look at the end here. So your case here, with your lugs, is polished and flat. So you can see here, it's very, very high polished, beautiful, beautiful surface. Your end link, on the other hand, is brushed and curvy. And I understand they need the curve to match the bezel here, but the result is that your case here, your lugs, don't look like they match the end links particularly well. And some days I like the effect a lot. I look down at it like, damn, that's attractive. That was a good way to go, Sinn. And other days I look down and go, oh, damn, that's a disappointment. And it really kind of depends on the light. And I'm trying to give you as many rotations as you can so you can see it. That's really the big, ugly part of this bracelet, is at sometimes it just doesn't feel like it fits this watch super well. And, you know, that's life. It's in many ways a good argument to get the case itself bead blasted, or brushed, or whatever, but, you know, hey, whatever. So that's just the ugly, is that the end links don't really match the case of the watch all that well, but hey. So what's the final verdict here? The final verdict here is that this is a really nice bracelet. I mean, honestly, there's a whole lot of good going on here. It's really well made. It's got a great adjustment system, meaning that it's really easy to take a link in and out with these screw-on things. I do wish it had some adjustment systems, and I do wish it matched the watch a little better, but it is still pretty damn good, and it makes me like this watch a whole lot more than I did wearing this watch on a strap or on a NATO. It's a great little bracelet. Whether it's $320 great is really up to you, and that's more a question of what you like spending on watches. That's not all that unreasonable in the grand scheme of watch bracelets, but it is pretty much up there. I don't know that in fact, I don't think that there is a better option for a bracelet for this guy out there. The fine bracelet is butterfly clasp only, so you've got no adjustment really possible there. And you got a butterfly clasp, and this is just a much more attractive option in my mind than the fine link bracelet. But ultimately, you're going to have to be the judge of that. Am I going to call this bracelet a gem? Not quite. I think it falls slightly short of the mark. The watch with the bracelet is certainly a gem, but the bracelet itself, if they'd done better with the adjustment and they'd done a little bit better with the end links, I'd be happy about that. But as it is, it's just not quite adjustable enough for me to be absolutely over the moon in love with the bracelet. It improves the watch, no doubt, but I do think they could have done better there. So anyways, I hope that's helpful to you. This has been my review of the H-Link style bracelet for the Sinn 104 here, and have yourselves a wonderful rest of your day.